And to discuss the mining tax and a few other big money matters, I was joined earlier by Finance Minister Penny Wong. Minister Penny Wong, welcome to the programme.
Good to be with you again.
Now, you've got your mining tax through, a measure of great substance according to the Treasurer, but at some cost. Will you be materially changing the Treasury forecast of $10.6 billion from the MRRT over the first 3 years in the upcoming budget?
Look, we will update our figures in the usual way in the budget and any subsequent updates. But I would say this, it is an historic reform. It's the first time we've got this through the Parliament, a reform that's about spreading the benefits of the boom, using the higher profits of profitable miners, making sure they pay a reasonable rate to the Australian people, and through that funding cuts to the company tax system, plus investing in things like superannuation for working Australians. Very good reform.
But I guess the question is just how much lower the tax take is going to be. Commodity prices could be a lot lower. You've got the high Australian dollar, you've got the state royalties issues, and I see in the AFR today the Minerals Council of Australia insisting they never agreed to the revenue projections, and BDO partners saying they can't make the numbers add up for you.
Well, the revenue projections are projections from the Treasury, the same people who advised Peter Costello. Look, this is a profits-based tax and you're always going to see some fluctuation in revenue.
But is that likely to be a material change downwards?
What I would say to you is we have factored in our projections into the budget, which shows the budget coming back to surplus in 12-13, unlike the opposition, which refuses to cost any of its policies.
It is a tax which is going to deliver a variable revenue, though, and I guess the concern from some is on the spending side, things like your superannuation guarantee and your tax cuts. They are ongoing fiscal commitments. What's going to happen when that mining revenue does reduce or dry up, as it inevitably will?
The sorts of policies you've outlined, cuts to the company tax rate and investment in superannuation, they are good economic policy. Opposed by the opposition, but they're good. They're good for the economy, they're good for the savings rate, and they're good for the company sector, particularly small business.
I guess the issue is you're not matching like with like. You're raising from a tax that could rise and fall, and your commitments on an ongoing basis, potentially in perpetuity, are going to be there as hard commitments.
And unlike the opposition, we have factored those commitments into our budget bottom line, which shows the budget coming back to surplus in 12-13 and continuing.
All right. Well, it looks like you've got a two-tiered tax coming up. So much for the promised tax cut for bigger businesses.
Oh, well, can I say this is something Mr Abbott really has to answer some questions about. I mean, this is a Liberal leader who is saying he will seriously line up with the Australian Greens to kill a company tax cut.
But is it less the position that Mr Abbott has put himself in and the position that the Labor government, the bed that you have made, Minister, is actually with the Greens? And it's the Greens this time that are saying no. Well, this is the ongoing. Well, let me put to you.
That is, with respect, that is the spin that Mr Abbott wants to put. But we will vote for a company tax cut, just as we voted for the MRRT and small business tax breaks, which were included.
Let me suggest to you that it's not just tax cuts which is the issue. It's the carbon tax as well, obviously, but it is your compromising with the Greens that is of great concern to the business community, and no amount of playing small business off with billionaires or announcing COAG business forums is really going to change that from business's point of view.
But we haven't compromised with the Greens on this issue.
No.
Let's remember, we are saying...
No, you certainly haven't.
No, precisely. We are saying no. We've said no to the Greens when it comes to their position on the company tax cut.
And as a result, you can't deliver the cut for big business.
Oh, come on. You're telling me that we should just say, everyone in Australia should say, oh, Tony Abbott's just allowed to say no to everything, even if it's in the national interest. And we're not going to criticise him for standing with Bob Brown.
Penny Wong, Glenn Stevens yesterday said that the high Australian dollar should help the government. He said, I quote, at the margin, this has to make the task of enduring fiscal soundness a little easier. Do you agree with him?
Well, I'm the Finance Minister, and I'm the Finance Minister at a time where we've seen a lot of downgrading in government revenue forecasts. It's about $140 billion over this period since the GFC. That's a lot of money we've had to find in order to ensure we remain on track to bring the budget back to surplus next year. So
I might take that as a no.
Well, I mean, I respect him greatly. All I can say is this is not an easy task, but one we're determined, unlike the opposition, to engage in, because we think a surplus is the right thing for the economy.
And finally, Minister, Bill Shorten, your colleague, announced a one-year delay in the FOFA legislation in the last week. Now, and I'm thinking in particular of things like the opt-in rules. Isn't this a sop to some in the industry who don't want any change?
No, I think Bill laid out the reasons for that when he spoke about this. This is a very substantial set of reforms. I think very important reforms about ensuring that Australians get the best sort of financial advice. But obviously there's a transition which has to occur from where we are to where we're going, and Mr. Shorten has, provided I think a sensible transition path.
You've got independents like Rob Oakeshott who are not the slightest bit interested in that. It gives them the opportunity to put up even more resistance, I guess.
Well, people are going to have different views about this, but whenever you have reform, there's always people who want you to go faster, and then people want you to go slower, and we've got to find the right balance.
Minister, it's going to be a very busy time between now and the budget for you. Good luck with it all. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.